Hi, welcome to the Pawsitive Health podcast, where we believe that pet owner education leads to better pet health. I am Dr. John Adam. I've been a general practitioner for companion animals for over 17 years now, and I'm joined here by my co-host Devlin.
Hello. I've been a pet owner for, let's see, 43 years now. And in my profession as an optician, I am also a firm believer that education is going to be the path for success. The more my patients know about what they're getting, the better experience they have. So happy to be here.
All right, and today our topic is summer hazards. Since we're in the middle of summer, it's getting pretty hot,
Go ahead.
and there's definitely a lot of things unique to this time of the year for our pets' health, and so figure we go through that today. So our
Yeah.
first topic then is obviously with summer comes heat, a lot of heat. So in our specific thing is heat stroke, and what to look for in heat stroke. And so, unfortunately, I actually had a case of that today, where I had a patient come in, a shepherd, that the owner let him run around yesterday. It was pretty warm yesterday,
Yeah.
and probably got overheated. The owners really weren't noticing the signs too much, other than they were saying the dog was getting lethargic, but they thought the dog was fine and took him home. And the next morning, this dog was still pretty lethargic. They still, I guess, didn't really think much of it until the dog went outside, had some soft stool, and then collapsed. So they
Jeez.
immediately brought it to us. And when it was presented to us, unfortunately, came in shock, basically. So severely dehydrated, in shock, um, and unfortunately had cardiopulmonary arrest where everything kind of shut down. We resuscitated him and got him back once, and try to keep him alive, but unfortunately, a short time after that, went back into cardiopulmonary arrest. We tried to resuscitate again, and unfortunately, we couldn't get him back the second time. And so it was a very deadly situation. Can be very subtle signs at first, but stuff that hopefully you guys can keep an eye on so that it doesn't happen to your
Yeah.
pet.
Are you all
The
right? Because
obviously,
I know that
yeah,
always, I know that always hits hard when you lose a patient. You okay?
yeah. I mean, it sucks. It definitely sucks, but we know we try to do whatever we can as best we can. But it is part of
Yeah.
our profession, and we unfortunately have to go through sometimes, and you just gotta kind of lick your wounds sometimes and keep going because there's other pets in need. You
Yeah.
can't stop. So yeah, it is tough. It definitely is tough. And it was a long time patient of ours, and definitely knew the patient for quite a few years. But yeah, it does get tough. Um, so as you see, this was a shepherd, but so any dog can be um, susceptible to this. It's a big one for the smush face breeds, like your Frenchies and your Bulldogs, and all that, because one of the um, ways that dogs and cats dissipate heat is via panting. They're not great at dissipating heat well, because they don't have sweat glands. Really, they have some in their paws, and on their nose a little bit, but mainly in their paws. But it's not a great way of dissipating heat, and so they have to pant to dissipate heat. When they pant, they're hyperventilating, and when they're hyperventilating, they get more stress. They hyperventilate
Yeah.
more, and then they overheat because of that, and it's just a vicious cycle. And especially with these smush face breeds, they're not good at breathing, obviously. So it's more of
Yeah.
an issue with them. So being very careful with these with your dogs, and making sure that even if it doesn't seem too hot. I mean, like I said, it was decently hot yesterday, probably in the 80s, but still, you have to be careful, even the low 80s, even high 70s, just to be careful with these dogs and make sure they don't get overheated.
So, like, what do we look? I mean, you said the dog was just being lethargic, but I mean,
Mhm.
I'll take my dogs out for a walk and they'll just be panting. But I mean, if that's just how they cool down, like, how do I know, like, what's the difference between regular panting and, oh my God, I got to get him inside because, you know,
Yeah.
it's really bad.
Exactly. It can get back quickly, unfortunately. So, panting obviously is a normal response to getting heated and running around and playing and everything. Obviously, as long as it's a passive type of panting, if it starts to get pretty heavy, pretty frantic, they seem to be having a tough time catching their breath and everything. If their drool starts becoming very thick, that usually means they're starting to lose a lot of hydration and everything. Check their gum colors. Make sure they're nice and pink. If they start getting like brick red, purple, then obviously you want to bring them into a vet right away. Obviously, with this other dog, if it got lethargic, so if for any reason your dog gets very lethargic, tired, more so than usual, then take him to your vet. Just have him get checked out. Um, and those are probably the biggest signs. Also, later on, vomiting, diarrhea um, are a big one. They can sometimes get neurological signs if it's really bad. It's like getting tremors, convulsion, seizures. So, obviously, if get to that point, you want to get to a vet immediately. So, those would be the signs to watch out for.
Yeah. All right. But I mean, if I have enough water, is that enough? Or do I need to, like, put ice in the water? Do I need to get like one of those fancy cooling mats? What do I need to do?
I mean, while they're out there, obviously, you want them to have plenty of drinking water and everything. But that's not enough. Try to keep them in shade as best possible. If you can, take them out during the late evening or very early morning where it's not too hot, especially for your smush face breeds, your brachycephalics. And then just keep an eye on them, making sure that you're not seeing any of those signs. As far as when you do think they're overheating, please don't try to dunk them in some ice water. That's uh, worse than just taking them straight to the vet. Just the big thing is using cool or lukewarm water. Well, usually cool water. You can put it on their paws, on the tips of their ears. That's where they kind of lose their most heat. Um, I even tell people rubbing alcohol, just put it in their paws and tips of their ears to kind of dissipate that heat and everything. But don't try to decrease that temperature way too fast because they'll go into shock just with that. And also, if they become hypothermic, so they become low temperature from being too high temperature, that big change can cause some major damage to the body.
Uh, so like thermal shock to their body.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. And that's obviously worse off for your pet. So,
Yeah. And I
uh,
got friends that have like dogs that stay outside all the time.
yeah.
What do I tell them? What do they do?
I mean, hopefully they can bring him inside. But
Yeah.
just trying to provide as much shade as possible for them, plenty of water, um, and that's probably the big thing if they have to stay outside. But if they can bring them inside, especially when it gets really hot, it'd be best if they can be inside and air conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And then what about the cats? I mean, because I've had a cat in the past, and there's some strays that are out here. Like, is it the same thing? I look for the same thing for them.
yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Obviously, cats are a little better about regulating themselves and keeping themselves out of trouble and all that, but it still can happen to a cat, even indoors, especially if you're not having their AC on or anything. So make sure indoor cat we got plenty of AC, plenty of water, areas of where they can stay in quiet and cool environment, and um, hopefully you can avoid that.
In this economy, air conditioning? What are you crazy?
I'm kidding. That's right. At least a fan. Turn on a fan. Something. No. It's
Yeah.
too hot for you. It's too hot for
Is
your pet.
it is it okay? Like if it's like really hot and then I bring them inside to like an air conditioned house, like is that an issue?
Usually not. No, I mean that's usually not shocking enough to cause any issues and all of that. Once again, watch for those signs and everything. But bring them into an air conditioning house definitely will help if you start to see that they're getting a little frantic with their panting and everything. So
Yeah.
just keep an eye on them. Oh, there's your little pup.
Yeah. Here's my pup. Here's
Yeah,
Loki. Yeah.
that's Loki.
Yeah. When he gets really hot, you know, I've seen it. Like I've taken him on walks around the park, and I've seen like the quite a bit of little frothing at the neck, at the mouth,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'll bring him inside, and you know, get the air going. I will kind of just try to put down something cool for him to lay on. But you know, one of the things that I've been trying to figure out, and maybe you could help me out with this, is you know, if I take him to the park, it's not like I got linoleum sitting in the back of my car or the back of my truck. So
Hmm.
like so I'm cranking up the AC, hoping that it's not too much too fast, but that's the only thing I can do aside from giving him the water that I've got in that little bowl and you know,
Hmm.
cranking up the AC. But yeah, I've seen it myself where like he's panting like crazy and fur gets all matted from like and it just coming
Yeah.
down the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, their paws, the tips of their ears are really one of the best areas to dissipate heat, other than the mouth, obviously. So getting some cool water and just
Yeah.
washing their paws, wash the tips of their ears. Like I said, even if they seem really bad, getting some even rubbing alcohol, it's very cooling. And so just using it in their paws, tips of their ears, just to help dissipate that heat a little bit more. And just
Yeah.
the best thing is preventative. That is the best thing.
Yeah.
Try to not get to that point, because if you get to that point, it's really hard to get them back to being okay.
Yeah.
So prevention is the key. So.
Now, what about what's your stance on those you know, those shoes that we can put them on? Because, you know, if the pavement is hot, they're gonna get burnt by the pavement. So
Mhm. Yeah.
do I have to invest in those little booties for them?
So yeah, I mean that's our next thing is hot pavement. So that is a definitely a thing that we see a lot of dogs come in where they get injuries to their paws and paw pads because of the heat. And so a lot of owners don't realize how hot that pavement can get. I mean, it can get up to 40, even sometimes 60 degrees above what the ambient temperature is out there. And that's, can burn a paw pretty quick, especially those dogs that kind of run around a pool continuously after the kids. You
Yeah.
definitely see those a lot where they're, running around causing trauma to their paws and it's overheating or heating up their paws and causing thermal injury as well. And then they get these sloughing injuries on their paw pads that are very painful. Um,
Yeah.
so one quick test that you can do to see if a pavement is too hot, just taking the back of your hand, putting it on the pavement, and if you can handle it for at least 7 seconds, then
Yeah.
most of the time you're going to be okay. But if you can't, then most likely they can't. Um,
Yeah.
and as far as the little booties and everything, that definitely will help prevent it, just like with us having shoes. So that will help them not burn their paws and everything. But big thing is making sure they're just not on that hot pavement too much.
Yeah. And making sure that my wife doesn't want to start color coding all of their outfits with different shoes.
Yeah. Uh, oh my gosh. Yeah, I could see that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay, so along with like the burning pads, right? So my dog Loki, he's got black toe beans. His pads are little black ones. Um,
Mm.
it's not like it's going to turn red. How do I know if they're burnt? Is it just like, do I touch his feet afterwards and see if he yelps, or what do I do?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be painful to them. So touching their paw pads and it's painful. Any swelling as well on their paw pads. Obviously, if you're concerned, bring them into a vet. But if you notice any them licking at their paws and swelling their paws, if they're limping, so they seem like they're in pain, then bring them to your vet. Have them checked out. So,
All right. Yeah. Um, okay. So if I take him to the park, there's one over there that's got a lake. Is it fine for him to go in the lake to cool down?
um,
If he knows how to
I wouldn't
swim?
say
If he knows how to swim.
if he
Okay.
knows how to swim. So if you're worried that he's getting, some heat stroke, I probably wouldn't recommend them going into lake and getting more worked up and everything like that. Now, if he seems to
Yeah.
be okay and not distressed or anything of that nature, then getting their feet wet and everything is no problem. But I wouldn't necessarily just have them go into the pool if you think that they're uh, having an issue being distressed, because that may make him a little more distressed.
Good. Good. There you go. Good, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, aside from one sec.
He's bugging you.
Yeah. Thanks, kiddo. Yeah. So okay. So the other thing is, I know when it comes to bodies of water, if I did want to take him in, um, I I would want to make sure that the water is safe as well, because
Hmm.
I have a general rule for myself that like I'm not going to go into like a lake, that is very still water. I want to make sure
Hmm.
that there's movement, because I know that if there's movement, then there's less likely that there's going to be dangerous stuff like near the surface. I'm
Hmm.
assuming same kind of danger for like dogs. So,
Yeah.
what are the
Uh,
things that parents need to be looking out for um, in like a body of water if they take them out to like the beach or a lake or a river? Like, what are things in the water that they need to watch out for?
Not sure. I think you're getting at as far as the blue green algae stuff and everything. So
Yeah,
that is definitely something that you do have to worry about, especially during the summertime. It's this algae that kind of like a blue green algae. It's like a pea type of soup looking algae that's in the water that can um, cause some major issues in dogs and can be fatal.
yeah,
So it's you want to avoid those waters that are green and grimy. Um, you also um, want to make sure, like I said, it's not stagnant water; it's more fresh water, moving water, and all that. So yes, avoiding that stagnant water with the algae in it, because it can, if it is the bluegreen algae, it definitely can be very fatal if they are in contact with it.
yeah. And I imagine, but like with a lot of things with our dogs, it doesn't even matter if they go in the water. If it was out around the perimeter
Yeah,
of the water
around
and they just
everything.
step in it and they just start looking at their paws, like they're going to get it that way
Exactly.
too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they definitely can get that way. So being very careful with that for sure. So
good times. Okay, so then the logical conclusion that a lot of people are probably going to draw is that the pool is perfectly safe, but we know that's not really the case either.
yeah. So with the pool, whether it be chlorinated or saltwater pool, you do want to be careful with them consuming that water. Obviously, the water can also be irritant to their skin, being salt or chlorine. But them consuming it, which a lot of dogs do, especially when they're swimming and everything, they'll gulp down a lot of water. That can cause a lot of GI distress and vomiting, diarrhea, and dehydration. So just being careful when they are in a pool, whether it's salt or chlorine, um, just to be careful they're not consuming too much water. Uh, in those pools.
Yeah.
So
Good times.
yeah.
All right. So with the heat as well, one thing, I'm sure this will eventually reach further out, but we're in Southern California, so with the heat brings another danger, and that's going to be the fires. Like I got one actually that's happening, and it's blowing smoke towards our
No,
house right now. So
that,
is that one
that's
of those
scary.
things where I've got a limit exposure to outside, and do I have to do anything else aside from that when we've got those fires blowing smoke everywhere?
Yeah, as far as fire is kind of the same cautions that you'd have for yourself. You don't want to be inhaling smoky air and all that. That can cause lung irritation, and obviously, it gets bad enough. They can have some bad damage to the lungs. So yeah, same precautions you'd have for yourself, have for your dogs. Get them indoors if there's a fire around. And making sure they're not exposed too much to the smoky air.
Yeah, good times. Same with us.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
with people. Yeah, same exact thing. So
The other thing I will say I've been guilty of in the past is we've heard the old story that it's not really a danger of things like fleas and other pests outside until the summertime because that's when they're active. We know, of course, that it's a year-round thing, but they are definitely a bit more active during the summer. So now it seems like as good a time as any to start talking about what those regular preventatives are, especially if it's not so hot these days and I want to take a nice little walk out with him on like one of the trails or go hiking or something. Um, I've got to make sure that he's protected from, things like ticks, and we've got fleas from strays in the area out here and that kind of
yeah.
stuff. So like, is it plenty fine just to do like one of those chews, or do I need to do some like specific stuff for them?
So with parasite control, we always preach that that's a year-round thing. Um, Obviously, during the summertime, you're going to have more issues with parasites. Your dogs are more active; they're outside more, and the parasites are more active during the spring, summertime. So things like fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, um, and with mosquitoes in certain environments, and honestly, it's being more prevalent throughout the United States is heartworm disease via mosquitoes. So always having year-round flea tick heartworm prevention. There is one parasite control that does take care of mosquitoes. It's Vector 3D, but um, honestly, the big thing with mosquitoes is heartworm. So making sure you're on a heartworm preventative, um, whether it be combination flea, tick, and heartworm like a Simparica Trio or NextGuard combo, Revolution, um, or you can do. There's a you know injection called ProHeart that's once a year that you can do for the heartworm, and then just do your general oral flea controls, but making sure they're always on a good flea and tick control and heartworm control year round, especially during the summertime. Um,
And from a personal note, because of where we live, um, if we take him out, I always make sure that every year we see you so that he can get his rattlesnake as well, because that's an issue out here.
mm, yeah, definitely in Southern California, and there's other places as well. Just big thing once again is prevention and make sure you don't get exposed to rattlesnake. And then there's courses that you can take that show dogs what they should be doing and avoiding rattlesnakes rather than
Yeah,
confronting them. So that's definitely key. Whereas even with rattlesnake vaccine, you still need to bring them to a hospital right away because that's very dangerous for them. And going back to the water safety, one big thing that unfortunately we see a lot is dogs that drown in pools and all that. And so just being careful, especially during this time of the year, um, that dogs know how to get out of the pool. So train your dogs to know where they best areas to get out of a pool, so that if they do fall in, they can get out. And then, of course, you will have your dogs that are older and are not capable of getting out of the pool, making sure that they don't have access or putting up a fence or whatever it may be for pool access, so they don't get into the pool. So I just wanted to go over that as well. That you just want to make sure that um, dogs are safe around the pool, and when they're not being attended to, that they aren't um, going to drown. Because unfortunately, we do see a lot of uh, cases where a dog comes in that's already passed. It's because the owners had him outside, and dog was you know very old and blind, and just was walking and fell in the pool, and unfortunately couldn't get out. So just being very careful with
Treat him
that.
like a toddler.
Treat him like a toddler, yes. Treat him definitely like a toddler. And of course, you got your young Labradors that need to live in the pool. That's fine. Like
Yeah.
I said, as long as they know the way out. So making sure they have a way out and know the way out. Um, and then another thing with heat safety is cars. I know a lot of people think that keep them in the car, rolling down the window, that they'll be fine. And honestly, rolling down the window really doesn't do much. I mean, you ever been in a really hot car, you roll down the window, I mean, you still turning on that AC full blast. So even if it doesn't seem too hot, yeah, just like with the hot pavement, if it's um, only like high 70s, low 80s, it's still gonna be really hot in those cars. So being very, very careful and not keep your dogs in cars, even with a cracked window. If you can, leave the air conditioning on. If they have to be in the car, that'd be great. I know Tesla's great with that as far as having that doggy mode where you can have the air conditioning
Yeah.
on and unlock car. And I mean, that's pretty cool. And I don't know if I necessarily would trust that all the time, but um, having them in an air conditioning cars best if they have to be in the car. So.
Yeah, I've had to do it. I don't have a Tesla. I've got a Ford Maverick, but
Mhm.
I've been able to do that in my truck, and my wife's got a Hyundai Santa Fe, and she can do it in her car. A lot of them have those, remote start features where you can just let it sit on for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I mean, most of the cars have something built in now if you're going to go that route. But yeah, even for us, like we're not keen on taking the dogs into every store. We're not keen on taking them with us if we're not going to go to a place where they can go inside. Like
Yeah, exactly.
let,
Just
let's not take the dog with us if we're going to go to the mall, but we can't take the dogs into the mall. It makes no sense.
yeah, yeah. And you never know. I mean, you may have the air conditioning on, but it's not cooling down fast enough, or um, God forbid, it goes out or whatever it may be. You just don't want to risk it.
Yeah,
So I mean, maybe if it's a short little stint going to a store, leave the car on, leave the air conditioning on, okay, but um, I wouldn't just leaving the car without AC, even if it is a short little trip to the store or something like that, because you never know, your mind kind of wanders off. You forget that the dog is there, and then 10, 15
yeah,
minutes there, you're like, oh my god. And it doesn't take long for those cars to heat up. I mean, it only takes 5 minutes if that. So just being careful with
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, we warn our patients at the optical clinic about it because people will leave their glasses in the car, and it's going to ruin a pair of glasses, something they paid hundreds of bucks for. And it doesn't take long here in Southern California, so obviously then it's not going to take long for it to happen to a dog. But yeah,
Yeah,
we'll still do it as much as we try to warn them, both of us.
yeah, Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our next
Uh, yeah.
hazard then is, of course, during this time of year, our favorite part of the time of the year is cookouts and barbecues. Obviously, these are amazing for us. I don't know if it's
Yes.
necessarily healthy for us, but amazing for us. But with the barbecues and everything come issues with our dogs getting into that barbecue, into the cookout food, and kids dropping things. And some of these foods can be very uh, harmful to our pets. Obviously, we got the specific ones like onions and garlic and chives and all that. Those
Tasty
are,
things.
was that?
I said the
What did you
tasty
say?
things.
The tasty things, yes. Unfortunately, they like the tasty things too.
Yeah.
But those things can damage their red blood cells and cause some major damage to them. Grapes, raisins. We don't know why yet, but they can cause significant kidney damage and kidney failure. Um, there
Wait,
are
raisins
certain
cause more damage than grapes?
raises. No, no, not necessarily.
Oh,
We don't know yet. We both of them have the same thing as far as what's in it. We're just not sure yet, and it doesn't seem like it's the same concentration in every type of grape, which is weird. Because
yeah.
you could have a dog eat a bunch of grapes and be perfectly fine, and then you have one eat one little grape, and they are, in kidney failure, and that's never good. So, but obviously you never want to risk that. So, just making sure your dogs don't get in that. If they do, bring them straight to a vet immediately, so they can have them check the kidney values and hopefully get that grape out too. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's that. There's a lot of baked goods and barbecue sauces nowadays, especially like the low sugar ones and all that, will have a sweetener like xylitol in it, and xylitol can be very toxic to dogs, and it can cause extreme low blood sugar, damage the liver, and so got to be very careful with that as well. Chocolate, of course. I guess it's always a big toxin, but I'm sure there's a bunch of chocolate nowadays, so making sure they don't get
Yeah.
into that.
We've even
Um,
seen some of our cookouts, the dogs will try to get into somebody's beer.
so yeah, we don't need that too. That's not good for them as well. So yeah, beer not good for dogs. Um, then there's stuff that's not necessarily toxic, but it's not going to be good, such as corn on the cob. I mean, that's sometimes the arch nemesis of a veterinarian is corn on the cobs, because yeah, it can cause some pretty bad intestinal obstructions, and sometimes they're very hard to see when we do an X-ray or anything like that, as far as diagnosing that they have an obstruction
Yeah.
with a corn on the cob. Um, so those are definitely not good. And for some reason, we see a bunch of dogs that swallow those whole and cause issues, and we have to surgically go in there and get in. That's obviously super expensive, and your pet's going through a lot as far as having surgery and everything. So definitely try to avoid those. Bones as well, being very careful with that. Um,
Yeah.
those can as well cause obstructions, um,
Yeah.
and perforate their gut,
We've even seen like,
although rare.
those bones that are hollow and the dogs are like getting their tongues or their teeth are stuck in it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've told you, a bunch of times where I have the dogs come in. When I used to on call at night, that they'd be stuck on their lower jaw on those canines. And it's just, you'd have to sedate them in order to get it off, because they
Yeah.
can't get off. Somehow they get it on, but I don't I don't know. So sometimes you even have to cut it to get it off. Yeah, those aren't fun to deal with when they come in. And of course, the dog's super stressed out, and the bone keeps rubbing on their lips and causing abrasions and bleeding, and it's not fun. Definitely not fun, but
Yeah.
definitely had many of those that come through the door. Um, And of course, just in general, dogs eating a bunch of fatty foods and everything is not good for the gastrointestinal tract. Can cause something called pancreatitis, which is a very significant inflammation of the pancreas that causes vomiting, diarrhea, decreased appetite,
Yeah.
dehydration. A lot of times we have to hospitalize these guys because they just can't keep things down. They're getting very dehydrated, they're very sick, painful in their abdomen. And so we have to get in fluids and treat their symptoms and um, try to get it over the hump, basically. So these, delicious barbecue fatty foods can definitely trigger something like that.
Yeah. My cat Harley had it.
And pancreatitis? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh,
You told
dang.
me.
No, I don't remember that. All right. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Loki here, when we go out to like these barbecues, I got to make sure I check them afterwards because especially during the summer with where we go and there's a bunch of grass, his fur attracts foxtails like a magnet. I swear it's like a
mm,
straight up magnet. I found them in his tail, of course. I found them near his paws. I even found one once was like inside his ear, like he
yeah.
had like rubbed his head like against the ground and got it. Obviously, there's no preventative from that except for shaving him bald, and that's not really, a viable option.
Right.
Um, but do you know of any ways of like spotting them like super easy, or is it like should I get like a special comb? And I know what to look for, but if you could tell everybody else what to look for when it's
Yeah.
been in there too long and it's gotten bad.
Yeah. So as far as foxtails, I think that it's mainly a Western U.S. problem. It's funny because there'll be conferences that we go to that everybody from the nation's at, and there'll be a case where this dog's got a swelling in his paw and a drainage tract with permanent debris or pus coming out of the paw. You can tell who the California vets are because they raise their hand and like that's a foxtail. And everybody's like, "What? What's that?" But yeah, we know our foxtails. Unfortunately, we see those a lot, especially during the summertime, and it's just um, grass that during some time gets dried out and turns into these like little barbed, like basket-looking things, and they suck. And the fact that wherever they cling on to and burrow, they go one way. They don't go back at all. They just keep going forward and they attach to everything, like you said. I mean, I've seen them obviously in their fur and their paws. They get into the paws and go all the way up into their paw. It can get into their throats, into the lungs, cause major infections in their lungs. I've seen it in the eye, where I've had to take it out behind their third eyelid, and it's causing the severe inflammation, swelling, and ulcerations on their cornea, and it's just nasty. In their ears, like you said. Got these dogs that are shaking their head, and people are thinking it's just allergies or just a general infection. Then when you look in there, and there's a foxtail, and so I
Yeah.
have to obviously get that out. They obviously feel much better when they get it out. But those suckers can go anywhere. And so once again, like with most things, the big thing is prevention, making sure they're not going into those grassy, dried out fields during the summertime. But afterwards, just combing their body religiously and just trying to look at every inch of them, making sure these foxtails are not there because they stick there and they won't go away. Um, and then obviously, if you see any open wounds with drainage that are not healing, swelling in their paws, that they are shaking their head because it's in their ears, any coughing, um, or issue with their eyes or rubbing their faces, they can get into their nose. So if they're sneezing a bunch, and especially if they're getting like blood discharge out of their nose, you definitely want to be careful with foxtails. They're pretty nasty little things. So
Yeah. And I was telling you
yeah.
about it before we were doing this. One of the things that we've noticed out in our area is we've got these, they're about this big, about the size of an orange, maybe a little bit smaller, and
Mhm.
spiky little things. And I was wondering like what they are. I looked it up, and it's a native wild cucumber. And the thing
Mhm.
is, super bad. So I've been just staying safe. And I know like when I take him out on trails, because we've got a couple that are around us, when I take him out on trails, I don't let him go rummaging into the bushes, for all of those reasons. I don't let him go into the
Yeah.
bushes because foxtails are going to be in there. Some of these wild plants that I can't identify are going to be toxic to him.
Yeah.
Rattlesnakes are going to be in there. So I'm trying to have fun with him, trying to keep myself healthy, trying to keep him healthy. But
Yeah.
yeah, is there any other specific like summer plants that I need to be like extra prepared for, that I need to be watching out for?
As far as specific to the summer, I mean, we kind of you went over the cucumber one and the foxtails, the blue green algae, probably the big ones to avoid. Everything as far as other plants go that are specific to summertime, not necessarily. We kind of go over the ones that are more specific to the summer. So
So in the heat, we treat our pets like our toddlers. We keep them away from the bodies of water. We don't leave them locked up in the car. We try to keep them cool. We don't let them rummage around in foxtails. What am I forgetting?
sorry.
Oh, we don't let our kids get fleas.
No, I sure hope we don't let our kids get fleas.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Come
that'd be funny. Or lice. That's another thing with the flea controls. I don't know if people realize that, but they only protect with fleas and ticks and all that, and heartworm with the certain ones. But one thing we don't see too much now because of these new flea controls is mange. So scabies, demodectic mange, which isn't contagious, but we used to see a ton of it in puppies and all that. We don't see that much of it nowadays because of these really good flea controls or parasite controls. So they do a lot more than just fleas. So we highly recommend them. Obviously, talk to your veterinarian and make sure that it's safe enough for your pet because there are certain pets like dogs that have uh, are exposed to or predisposed to seizures. A lot of times we won't put them on these type of medications, but talk to your vet. Make sure it's something that you can put your pet on because it's going to prevent a lot of headache for you guys, and it's not that expensive. It's much less expensive than a visit to the vet. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
We're not telling you just as a money grab. We're telling you because we care for your pet and want them to be okay, and we don't want to see them for something that's super preventable with a just a chewable tablet once a month, so or every 3 months, depending on which one you get. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
This is
so
good. I got nothing else.
all right, yeah, I think that's a good video. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, hope you guys liked this video. If you learned something and found it helpful, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Oh, I can't see my thumb. There we go. Thumbs up. uh, Also, if you want more in-depth information about your pet and your pet's health and would like to ask myself, questions directly about your pet's health, or is there something going on that you just want more information on? There is a community in a app called Skool. Let me see if I can bring this up. Oh, it's not gonna let me.
Skool, right? Yeah, there you go.
Skol. What's going on? There we go.
Right there. There you
I'll
go.
I'll figure this out. Sorry guys, this is my first time. So yeah, we created a community in the school community called Pawsitive Health. And so in this community, you can ask questions in the discussion board, and myself or fellow pet owners can help answer questions, and there'll be resources and um, uh, other things in the community as well. And then hopefully we'll be doing frequent live Q&As, so that we'll be on with everyone in the community, and whatever questions they have, I'll answer them live for you guys. Um, and hopefully just, increase pet health awareness with everyone, so that hopefully our pets can live healthy lives.
Novel concept.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And if you have any other topics that you want to discuss, please comment below. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.